Ladies, gentlemen, and all you beautiful people in between, my name is Slater, and welcome back to the Uma Musume Horse Lore, Part 3. Well, not really. This is a different episode than the previous ones, as I have now watched the anime series. Yay! Most of my previous knowledge about the franchise came largely from me playing the game and not much else. Using my big horse knowledge, I thought it would be fun to take a look at it with all of you and share any fun facts I have when relevant. Please do note that while I try my best, I cannot promise to be entirely comprehensive, as this is largely my own knowledge from personal research and nothing more. I will be giving my own personal thoughts and criticisms on each season at the end. I will also be ranking them. So, without further ado, let's take a look where it all started, with 2018's Uma Musume Portrayed Derby. Spoilers. The series wastes no time and introduces us to our main protagonist, Special Week, whom we'll come to learn has two mothers, one who died after childbirth and the other whom raised her. And she will make sure you know that she loves both of them very much. There is no mention of a father, so I will assume Sesbi and Gax. We'll come to see that Special Week's human mother is indeed very supportive, which would entirely contrast with how the real-life version of this went down. Special Week really did have two mothers. His birth mother, Campaign Girl, died during childbirth, and he was wet nursed by a draft horse, who was reported to be extremely abusive and cruel to him. Because of this, he would often be seen crying very often. So why was this changed? The real reason is that the human mother in this show is actually based on Tina Price, a New Zealand woman who saw the bad hand dealt to Special Week and made sure to put her best efforts into training him and caring for him, helping to shape him into the horse that we know of today. None of that trauma dumping happens yet though, as currently Special Week is very ecstatic that she's finally in Tokyo, prompting a scene that would perfectly illustrate how these types of anime tropes would probably go IRL. Yeah, keep it in. Nobody wants to see that. Coming from Hokkaido, she's a fish out of water in the big city. She displays her Jacksonville etiquette by immediately assuming any police officer to be a molester. Special Week gets sidetracked from her destination of Racing Academy to go watch Stylish Suzuka's race. I hope you thought that looked cool. It's the only thing they ever do on that paddock. Spetchan is enthralled by Suzuka, very apt, since she's Special Week's real-life brother. She notices that somebody's groping her thighs, and it's animated in twice the frame rate as the rest of the show. Classy! She kicks her would-be cheek out, and this is how we're introduced to the Terrain-san. He has no name, but the community has nicknamed him Okino, after his voice actor, Koji Okino, and I will be referring to him in that way from here on out for simplicity's sake. He seems to have taken an interest in Special Week, and asks her a lot of questions. One's often asked and recorded of real-life racehorses. The one thing he doesn't mention is her pedigree, which is the one thing that this franchise actively avoids bringing up, despite it often being the most important aspect of a horse's stats. The race Special Week is watching is commentated over by Misato Akasaka, the main announcer for this anime series. She's voiced by Satomi Akasaka. Get it? Misato, Satomi, clever. Her co-commentator is a lot less coy about it. This is straight-up Junko Hosoe, former jockey-turned-race commentator. All co-commentators in the show will be cameos by real-life horse racing figures. Akasaka herself stood out to me, considering how she has a very anime design, and a series where the human characters generally look like regular everyday people. I think the reason it's throwing me off so much is because she has green hair for some reason. According to my research, this first race is based on the 1998 Valentine Stakes, notable for being the first race where Stylish Suzuka donned his iconic green mask. Suzuka wins, and we transition to the winning line, where unlike the games, there are no actual backup dancers, and only the top 3 populate the stage. I don't know if this makes it more or less cruel. Spatchan remembers that she's running late and rushes to her dorm, where we flash forward and are introduced to Tazuna Hayakawa. For 3 seconds, before we flash back to the scene we were just at, just introduced Fuji Kiseki, and then immediately flash forward again. Spatchan meets her classmates, comprised of members of the Golden Generation. She also meets Harurara, who isn't even in her class. She really just meets up with El Condorpasa, Saiyan Sky, and Grass Wonder. King Halo is ignored, and will continue to be ignored for the rest of the season. I cannot stress enough how much of a background jobber she is for her entire screen time, not even being given a proper intro of any sort. But more on that later. For now, we see more of Special Week's backstory, as well as her getting used to the school life. The girls are weirded out by Special Week having a little more rice than usual. Yet pay no mind to Oguri Cap eating the mother load right behind her. A consistent background gag to remind us who the true fat ass really is. She learns about trainer teams and wants to join Team Regal, the one Suzuka is on. She enters the tryouts and is asked by Team Regal's trainer, Hana, what her goal is. She enters with to be the best horse girl in Japan. And the girls around her very uncharacteristically laugh at her response. As the series goes on, we'll see more and more that the girls here are usually extremely supportive of one another's dreams. So I have no idea how these walking bully stereotypes gathered in one place. Spatchan does her best, however she is beaten for the position by El Condor Pelsa, who is now the 11th member of the team. This trainer has 11 horses on her team, most of which are the greatest of their eras. Her grade is truly immeasurable. On her way back from school, Special Boo bumps into Goldship, whom alongside Dawa Scarlet and Vodka, kidnap her and force her to join Team Spica, led by Okino. Spatchan is a bit hesitant on this until she notices that Suzuka is now also part of the team, having transferred from Team Regal. Now that they're all set, Special Week's debut is coming right up. Merely the start of episode 2 and Okino makes it absolutely clear that he's a whole different kind of freak. Spatchan is late for school and does the toast thing, but with a carrot instead. Pleasant! In class, they're taught about Mr. CB, Simbali Rudolph, and Narita Bryan, all being Triple Crown winners. A title so rare that less than 10 horses have obtained it in Japan. Special Week is informed by Air Groove that she is to meet Simbali Rudolph, who is the Student Council President. And as we all know, a Student Council President is more powerful than the Prime Minister of Japan. She's taught about the school's motto, Eclipse first, the rest nowhere. This is a popular English vernacular phrase originating from the legendary British racehorse, Eclipse, who in his third race finished with a distance of more than 250 yards between him and his opposition, disqualifying all of them on the spot. Since then, the phrase has been used with the meaning of absolute domination. Rudolph asks his son, Tokateo, to show Special Week around. During the pool scene, Taika's shuttle is shown, and brags about her swimming abilities. This was true of her real-life counterpart, as he was excellent in swimming training. Teo then shows Special Week the hollow tree stump that the characters ritualistically scream inside. I have no idea what this is, absolutely zero clue. Is it a reference to something, or is it just a silly little thing they added? Please educate me in the comments. This seems like a hazard of some sort. I mean, like, listen, if they had this at my high school, it would have not been a long time before somebody took a shit in it. Anyway, Special Week trains for her debut and tells us more of her backstory before getting ready for the big race. She tried. In real life, Special Week didn't hesitate at all when getting out of the gate. In fact, he was very confident and won by a landslide. He also probably wouldn't have frozen up during that concert. I know damn well he would have busted every move known to mankind right then and there. You fake-ass loser! Due to her embarrassing performance during the Idol concert, Okino decides to actually take into consideration the possibility of his team members winning and realizes he should probably train them to sing. He calls upon Tokateo for help. This must be the Teo step, Vodka says. No, the hell it's not. She's just dancing. This ain't it, bro. The Teo step was the name given by fans to the funny-looking trot Teo would do to show off. Later on in Season 2, the animators sought to try and make this more accurate to the real-life horse. After training, Spatchan meets up with the Grass Wonder and sees that she has been injured in her right leg, which does in fact reference a real-life injury, and not only is it represented here, but as well on her racing outfit, where black bandages are wrapped around her right foot. During the G298 Yayo show, Spatchan defeats Sao and Sky, and celebrates by fulfilling the animator's barely disguised inflation fetish. This in turn forces Tokateo to join Team Spica. Now it's on to the 1998 Satsuki show, Spatchan's first G1 race. This calls for the first appearance of her racing outfit. We ain't got no other tricks up our sleeve. It seems that Spatchan is too fat for it though, which is reflective of the real-life Special Week having put on some weight before the race. Seon Sky was a horse known for having trouble entering the gate, which is why they call upon the Horse Wrangler. He's my hero. Special Week loses the race, and decides to take out her frustration on the scream stump. Okino does the same. How the hell did that lollipop stay in his mouth? Spatchan takes her Satsuki show loss pretty hard, and begins to cut down on her weight. Once again, this is accurate to the real-life horse. On her morning jog, she somehow bumps into the most racist man alive. Get this. She falls down, and as apology, he pulls out a carrot from his pocket and hands it to her. I have so many questions. Why did he have a carrot in his pocket? Why is it his first instinct to give food to a stranger, expecting them to eat something that came out of his dirty-ass pocket? Secondly, if a Chinese person bumped into you, were you gonna hand him a rice bowl? Would you have handed her a burger if she was American? Do you keep burgers in your pocket for this special occasion? You see a horse girl and immediately assume she's gonna eat your carrots. Is that what this is about? Being racist is outdated, man. Be better than this. Or should I kick your ass, huh?
You dumb motherfucker!
Aurora has arrived. She talks about making her debut, and is very happy about her position of 5th place. The scene is missing context of the fact she placed 5th out of 5 people. I remember missing the joke entirely on my first watch. An ad comes on screen promoting El Condor Pasa. This is a direct reference to a series of commercials for the JRA, made in 2011.
El Condor Pasa, 激戦のライバルたち。
More hijinks ensues with Team Speaker, including yet another pervert joke with Okino. Still not over this. He ends up scheduling a mock race between Special Week and Taki Shuttle, who is notable for being the first foreign-born horse to be inducted into the JRA Hall of Fame, being of American origin. They are to race in a dirt sprint. Bad idea, man. Have you seen her wrecks? What else did you expect? Afterwards, the race shown at the end is the 1998 NHK Mile Cup, a G1 race, one which El Condor Pasa is victorious. Spachan starts preparing for the 1998 G1 Japanese Derby. She gains some advice from Marizensky, her real-life grandfather. Meanwhile, Teo invites Major McQueen to join Team Speaker on Goldship's request.
You are my queen.
It seems that she has a history of bothering McQueen. This is because McQueen is her real-life grandfather. Afterwards, Okino starts training Spetchan for the derby. Suzuka gives her assistance, while everyone else on the team combs the bushes for a 4-leaf clover. Real effective use of your time, jackass! The derby itself has a guest commentator, Yutaka Take, who is the GOAT of Japanese horse racing, having raced over 16,000 times and accumulating nearly 5,000 wins. He was also the jockey of Special Week and Silent Suzuka. During the race, Spetchan faces trouble with El Condor Pasa. This is inaccurate to real life. Not only did Special Week dominate the entire race, El Condor Pasa wasn't even in the Japanese Derby, as he was a foreign-bred horse, and those had restrictions on which races they could participate in. And the result of that heat had never occurred at that point during a G1 race, only really happening all the way forward in 2010. The episode ends with hugs all around, and by this point Spetchan's and Suzuka's bond has deepened significantly. The race at the start is the 1998 Takarazuka Kinen. Silent Suzuka wins, and we see Air Groove take 3rd place. However, I'd like to point out our 2nd place winner. This is actually Stay Gold, father of Goldship. Now, of course, they didn't have the rights to Stay Gold back then, and thus, this horse is never really referred to as such. But she keeps a consistent appearance, and it's interesting to compare her to the final design given to the official Stay Gold. Keep her in mind, as she will make further appearance in the background of later episodes. Goldship pulls a prank on McQueen by putting a ribbon on her tail. Now, as some of you may know, horse ribbons have meanings. For example, Goldship had a red ribbon on his tail to signify that he is aggressive and will kick you if you get near him. Now, what does the pink ribbon mean? It signals that McQueen is now a mare in heat. Nice! After some beach training, Suzuka is lost on thought while walking in circles. This is based on the fact that the real Suzuka would always veer to the left on his walk. Rest assured, he didn't do this during races. However, there were attempts to get rid of this habit, all unsuccessful. The gang goes to the school festival, and a notable thing here is the 33rd Donut Eating Festival, which directly references the 33rd Arima Kinen, which took place in 1988. Even down to the minor details, such as Super Creek coming in 3rd, yet being disqualified. Suzuka talks about moving to race overseas after the Tenno Show Autumn race. You know, to a nice farm upstate. During the night, Hana and Okina have a drink together, and they speak of Grass Wonder. It was at this point in time where his leg has healed, and he was to enter the 98 Mainichi O-Cup, a G2 race that happened to garner a particularly large crowd. This is due to the fact that Silent Suzuka and El Condor Pasa were also going to race there. In the anime, Asian Flash and Nice Nature also make an appearance. However, this is pure fiction. Suzuka wins, as is expected, and El Condor Pasa, alongside Grass Wonder, suffered their first ever defeat. which is soon followed by tears. And in celebration of Suzuka's victory, Okino does that thing middle schoolers do when they poop their pants but they don't want others to notice. Yeah, I did that too. Spatchan says that she lost the 98 Kikuka show to Saiyan Sky, and Suzuka promises her that she'll race alongside her to make her happy. Suzuka says she'll do it before the Japan Cup, as that's where she'll be heading off to America, but only after the Tenno show. She has no current plans after the Tenno show. After all, she doesn't know what'll happen after the Tenno show. She's going to enter the Tenno show and figure everything out afterwards. I'm sure that's not foreshadowing of any caliber. Spatchan offers some yatsuhashi to Suzuka, a confectionery made in Kyoto, which is where the Kikuka show took place. In the morning, Okino decides to lead a team to the inn as part of their training. Fun fact, his headband here reads Defeat Team Regal. Second fun fact, in Japanese, his license plate numbers phonetically read out Chu-Rei-Nana, Chu-Rei-Na, Chu-Rei-Na-san. You thought yous was slick, weren't you? At the inn, Team Speaker get into their usual antics. They enjoy each other's company, not knowing that this is the last time they'll be able to gather up like this for a while. On the ride home, Suzuka thanks Okino for all he's done to her, seemingly out of nowhere. Yep. Today is the day, the 1998 Tenno Show Autumn Race. Many notable characters are present. Major Orion, Nice Nature, Hishi Amazon, El Condor Pasa, and Winning Ticket, none of whom were present in the real race. This should be enough indicator for those of you who are in the know. This is that race, the final one that Sal and Suzuka would run. Now is a good time to talk about Okino's ideal, and how he'd make sure that each of his team members ran in their own way. It seems harmless at first, but it's reflective of how jockey Takatake treated Suzuka. He initially tried to reel him in, and ride him the same as any other horse he rode on. But to him, it seemed that going full throttle and blasting past everyone seemed to be the thing that Suzuka enjoyed the most, so he let him do it. And it led to him having a much more successful senior year, compared to his classic year. That running style is the thing that Suzuka became most known for. However, it would also be the thing that draws the end of the line for him. Those of you who watched part 1 of my lore series already know what happened. Suzuka began running so fast that his body physically could not handle his speed. His leg was severely injured, but instead of throwing off his jockey as others would have in his position, he remained calm and carefully slowed down, possibly saving his jockey's life. The leg injury was too severe, however, and it was in the 1998 Tenno Show Autumn that Sal and Suzuka would be euthanized. Luckily enough for us, this is fanfiction, and Suzuka does not meet the same fate. She is injured, but she yet lives. The episode ends off with a unique outro song sung by Suzuka herself, and it's clear that things will never be the same for Team Speaker from now on. We're given a bit of dialogue about Spatchan losing the Japan Cup. She's shown to be crying about the fact she was supposed to run in this race alongside Suzuka, and is sad over the injury of her friend. Now, Special Week did in fact cry after this race, but it wasn't really anything sentimental like that. It was because for some reason, Stay Gold bit Special Week's ass, which caused him to lose the race and also hurt like hell. For the time being, it seems that Suzuka occupies 100% of Spatchan's mind at the moment. The gang hosts a New Year's party, and on the TV, it seems that a special race is ongoing, the Winter Dream Trophy. This race is entirely fictional, and is a reference to a JRA commercial, presenting the idea of different horses from completely different eras racing together all at once. This specific commercial could very well have been the inspiration for Uma Musume as a whole. Very interesting to think about. Suzuka starts making progress on rehab, and we seemingly go through a time skip. From just finishing the 98 Japan Cup, we transition to the upcoming 1999 Takarazuka Kinen. Within that time, El Condor Pasa has established herself over in France, gaining second place at the Prix des Faunes, and letting us know that she'll be gaining first place at St. Cloud. In the meantime, we're shown that while Spatchan was constantly worried about Suzuka, and only think of Suzuka, Grass Wonder was studying the blade. There are also some hints of her being a bit of a yandere in their interactions, with Grass Wonder constantly questioning why Spatchan is focused on Suzuka, while not giving any attention to her. It's most likely this dialogue was supposed to convey that she simply felt disrespected by this, as she is Spatchan's upcoming opponent. But it gains a new perspective once you take into consideration that these two had somewhat of a complicated relationship, as Special Week hated chestnut-coated horses, allegedly because this was the same color as his abusive stepmother. Grass Wonder, on the other hand, seemingly mistook Special Week for a mare, and would often receive brutal erections and get excited when he was around. This made for a very interesting dynamic between these two. At the 99 Takarazuka Kinen, Grass Wonder destroys Spetchion's hubris by transforming into Sans Undertale, a power which we will not see the last of for quite some time. By the end, Grass Wonder has Spetchion on all fours. She has officially been betrayed as the Soy Jack. Spetchion can only seek cope by defecating in the school stump, but Okino beat her to the punch. Okino tells Spetchion 2 words that she desperately needs to hear. Lock in! We open up with a full display of the long phone. Beautiful. Suzuka has nearly made a complete recovery, just in time for summer training. Okino decides to take Team Spica to a wonderful beach resort and employs the strategy of separating Team Spica into 2 different teams who are completely uneven, with the rule of not being friendly with each other, which is mostly there for Spetchion and Suzuka. Meanwhile, El Condor Pasa is looking forward to the Lac de Triomphe, where she is to go up against Broye, the best horse girl in all of Europe. Broye's appearance in the show is distinct. She's the only character to exclusively speak something other than Japanese, talking in French all throughout. And my first thought upon seeing her was that she looks straight out of a shoujo manga. She's actually a stand-in for Manchu, generally considered to be one of the strongest European horses, being a winner of the Lac de Triomphe, a title that he comes to share with his granddaughter. Uma Musume does eventually get the rights from Machu to use her as an NPC in the game later on. She is, however, vastly redesigned compared to her appearance as Broye. Back to Team Spica, he sets them up in a race of triathleticism. It seems that Spetchion and Suzuka are a bit out of it, however, so much that Suzuka falls off her bike. Spetchion goes to help her out, but... Oh, you know his ass was standing there waiting for this exact moment.
お前はレース中に立ち止まるのか鈴鹿お前の本気はこんなもんか
He tells him once again, lock in! All this lovey-dovey friendship shit ain't getting us nowhere. Now go race some horses. They seem to actually hear him this time. Afterwards, everyone watches the 1999 Lac de Triomphe, where El Condor Pasa is overwhelmed by Broye and falls to second place. She later cries about it while recollecting this experience to Spetchion over the phone. It was after this race in France that El Condor Pasa retired from racing altogether, so this is somewhat of a bitter note to end on. I would also like to point out that even the hang-up button is locked. I just thought that was neat. We start off with Spetchion preparing for the 99 Kyoto Dai Shoten, and she comes up with the bright idea to get fat before the race, which completely backfires as any reasonable person would expect, losing her the race and causing TM Opera O to fall down with her. Astonishingly, this also happened in real life, as Special League's team thought that getting him fat would make him more powerful. How? El Condor Pasa rejoins Team Regal in Japan after her long trip in France. She grills Spetchion for her loss gain and weight gain. This makes Okino decide to send everybody home for a while so that they could rest. We're shown that all the Mijiros are related to one another and live in the same mansion. The series is somewhat inconsistent on whether or not characters with shared names are actually related or not. It is consistent about one thing though. When horses share a father, they are treated as strangers. However, if they share a mother, then they are recognized as siblings. Such as with Narita Brian and Biwa Hayahide. Brian makes her mark about Biwa being able to use her head well, which makes her feel insecure. A reference to the jokes made about Biwa Hayahide's large head. Watching this interaction are Vodka and Scarlet, who are buying shoes, and just so happen to be right in front of the shoes that fit their style, which they buy. Don't get too excited though. It was in this moment that I realized we have not seen any of Team Spica participate in a race, aside from Suzuka and Special League. They tried to make up for it with like 3 seconds of footage with each member, but they're clearly racing non-G1 races that seemingly have no basis and no story attached to them. This is really all you get. This will not change for the rest of the season, and you will never get to see them in the racewear either. So this scene and the opening hypes you up for nothing. Moving on, the 99 Nintendo Show Autumn. Seion Sky once again has issues going inside the gate, which did cause a massive delay in real life. They have to call up the horse wrangler once again. I wanna be like him when I grow up. The shot-to-shot scene of Special League and Silent Suzuka is somewhat reflective of what was going on in the mind of Special League's Shakti, Utaka Take. At the time, this was 1 year after he rode Silent Suzuka on this very course, where tragedy had struck. And he said that he felt as if Suzuka was pushing him forward, allowing Special Week and Utakataki to not only seize victory, but break the record time on the race that took his life. Sit down for this one, boys. This is where dreams come true. In this episode, we receive news that Broye is entering the Japan Cup, where she will face off against Special Week. But ignore all that. It's not the real focus of the episode. We've got a much more important matter on our hands. It's Suzuka's comeback race this episode, and 10 seconds in, we bear witness to the greatest character in this whole show. Or at the very least, her chest, that is. We flash back, and she sees that people are cheering on Suzuka for her comeback race. This only fuels her rage, as worship of false gods isn't tolerated in these parts. Hana warns Okina of the impending danger. He doesn't know what he's dealing with. Stats like these, and he might as well just take out Suzuka old Yeller style. He seems to comprehend this a little, and warns Suzuka that she's dealing with someone strong. Real strong. This sends shivers down Spetchon's spine. So much so that she writes a whole letter about it to her mother. They start to have their doubts about Suzuka winning, and on the day of the race, that same notion echoes throughout the entire racetrack. A harsh yet absolute truth is brought into light, confronting our protagonist head on.
Oh, you see, Suzuka, you're not dealing with the average horse girl anymore. After all,
This is Sun Visor we're talking about.
yeah! Let's go!
Now you may be thinking, damn, that is the cutest Walmart employee I've seen all day. But just who is Sun Visor? Well, the common theory around this race is that it's based on the 1999 Capital Stakes, a race taking place one day before the Japan Cup, and the winner of which being a horse by the name of Sunflare. He was a more obscure horse with an unclear record, and nobody knows the current whereabouts of. The Capital Stakes was his biggest win by far, and in this episode, Sun Visor takes his place. So, in this literal fanfiction where Silent Suzuka's inserted into a race she never belonged in, she steals the rightful and historical win from Sun Visor and presumably ruins the rest of her career, dooming her to never ever appear in any Uma Musume media ever again. Except the B&W special. Wow, that sure is something. Sun Visor was so peak, Okino couldn't help but shed tears when he saw her. Kinda funny looking back on this episode. It's practically filler, but it hypes up Sun Visor so much only for it to never really amount to anything. From the stats iPad to the letters to her mom, this shit goes crazy. Don't worry though, I'll always be the #1 biggest fan and #1 biggest glazer of Sun Visor. And I hope that one day she'll be added to the game and will whisk away all my woes, for they are harsh and plentiful. Sun Visor, save me! So, Special Week is going to face Broye in the Japan Cup. The rest of the Golden Generation girls listened in on Spetchon's door. None of them participants. Saiyan Sky and Grass Wonder were injured. El Condor Paso is retired, and King Hail already had a race scheduled this week. Spetchon is given advice by L on how to greet Broye. Damn, even Europe only have one move, huh? Broye is described as practically undefeated. This is because the real Manchu only ever lost once up until this point. Ellen's advice pays off with the funniest joke in the whole season, as Spetchon attempts to greet Broye in French.
Lovely to see you. Lovely. What? Glad to meet you. Lovely.
Keen-eyed viewers will notice that the number 9 on the gate is not present, as they had to withdraw before the race. The race starts, and things get heated. Maybe a little too much? This lasts an uncomfortable amount of 30 seconds. Special Week finishes. And this might just be one of the more dramatized races, believe it or not, as it wasn't even close between Special Week and Manchu, with Special Week completely dominating the Japan Cup. Special Week performs on an eerily empty stage. It seems that she is finally being punished for her sins by being forced to sing and dance on an eternal stage of limbo and purgatory. And that's really the end of Season 1. There is a special bonus episode, but considering it takes place after Season 2 and spoils many of its events, I'll cover it when I get over to Season 2. For now, I'll share my own thoughts and criticisms on Season 1. My biggest gripe with the show starts with Special Week. I felt as if she was very unfitting for the role of protagonist, and was at her best when she worked as a supporting character for Suzuka. For the amount of screen time she gets, she develops very little, and is overall very bland in my opinion. All she really has is every trope in the book for a protagonist like this. The major issue comes from the fact that we sacrifice so much of everyone else's screen time to give her more and more. Nobody except 2 members from Team Speaker had their own episodes or had any real time to shine in any races. Goldship existed as comic relief and served her purpose very well, but for the rest I couldn't even say that. Scarlet and Vodka felt homogenous. They have the rivalry thing going on, but it's never properly established, never elaborated on, and quite honestly feels half-assed. Like they forget about it half the time. It wouldn't even have helped either way, as they never grow past their initial appearance of the 2 nameless goons. Teo and McQueen are one of the bigger offenders, since their introductions make you think that they'd be more important, but they very quickly become background characters who I half the time forget are even part of the main team. I'm aware that these 2 are more important in Season 2, however, I would have liked it better if they were introduced here as side characters and only joined the main squad in Season 2 when it was their time to shine. The show in general has an issue of introducing too many characters and not doing anything with them. It can be kind of overwhelming at times. It's a lesser issue now compared to when the show came out, as now you actually have the game to use as a basis. You would recognize the characters and know who they are, so these moments act as cameos more than anything. But if you were someone watching in 2018 when this came out, you'd be confused at who any of these people are or what they're like, only for them to almost never appear again, especially since this was the only piece of real Uma Musume media for years. The biggest offender comes in the form of Team Wriggle. Respectfully, these people have no business being on one team. It's merely an excuse to have them all on screen without having to explain it each time. The only characters that ever do anything related to the plot are Grass Wonder and El Contrapasa. The others either never race at all, or feel very out of place being portrayed as rivals when they don't really hold any opposition to the cast. It feels like such a waste, because I got the feeling that putting all those characters on the same team restricted their capability of what they could have done with them in the future. Another offense is the treatment of King Halo. The story is focused around the golden generation of 1998, yet there's such a blatant disregard to King Halo's entire existence. She's there. She appears about as much as any of the other horses that were there. It's just that she barely gets any speaking lines and it's never acknowledged. Like when they're introducing all the golden generation as Special Week's classmates, and when they have lunch in the cafeteria, King Halo is nowhere to be seen outside of the background. Aurora of all people gets more screen time, and she actually converses with the main characters. Almost feels like they had no idea what to do with her or what her personality is even supposed to be. It's obvious that the project is still in its earlier stages at this point, and they don't have everything figured out just yet. Some characters appear in their beta designs, and there have been a few things that are not completely fleshed out. For example, that was Scarlet. She never acts the way you'd expect her to be at any point. No acts of arrogance, and not a single Ichiban to be heard. The way she acts here is more similar to the fake facade she puts on in the game rather than her real personality. This generally leads most of the characters to act a lot more generic than you'd expect them to. None of the same oomph that they should have is displayed. This genericness leads the show to be somewhat reliant on strange tropey things to happen that never occur again, like the trainer being a weird pervert, which is a type of joke that later seasons and most of the franchise tries to stand above and completely avoid, as well as that one scene where Spectron is laughed at when the franchise definitely tries to praise the majority of Musume as being good-hearted and kind. There are a lot of little moments of typical anime tropiness and humor that they don't really do much anymore. I will say I can completely understand a lot of this. They were clearly constrained by time and a budget, and even the animation looks a tiny bit off in some scenes, and the direction of the racing scenes felt straightforward and not very exciting past the first few times you see it. Again, I wouldn't hold it much against the show though, since this is before the series blew up and they just didn't really have the money to fund better animation. The intro always stuck out to me a little. Something felt wrong about Special Week singing by her lonesome on an unlit stage. Backup dancers aren't a thing in the anime, but for some reason I expected maybe with each episode a member of Speaker would join her on it or something like that. But nah, she's just kinda like that throughout all of it, all alone, singing to herself. You might be thinking after all that, Sam, he hates the show. But nah, like most things I enjoy, I tend to scrutinize and analyze why I like it and what could have been done to make it better. For example, Trainer Akino was a very surprising character. He was at the heart of a lot of the best scenes in the show. It would have been very easy to make him a bland and generic-looking self-insert, but they made him his own distinct character, both in appearance and personality. I'd say his screen time was one of the more enjoyable parts of the season for me, and his dynamic with Suzuka was my favorite out of any of the characters. It genuinely feels like they messed up by adding the concept of trainer teams to the series. I think it would have been a significant improvement to have each trainer be limited to one Uma Musume each. Generally speaking, scaling down the story and limiting the scope would have made things a lot more cohesive. To focus entirely on the late 90s golden generation would have made for a much better story. Though I understand why they couldn't do this. This season, and, this anime, is meant to promote the whole franchise to a new audience, more specifically the game. They had to advertise each horse at their disposal so they can maximize the chance of someone playing the game, which is the real end goal here. I'd say the best episodes for me were the ones focused on Suzuka rather than Special Week. It's clear the writers hold a lot of respect for him as a horse, and wanted to give him the best portrayal they could have. Her episodes and scenes were more gripping with better emotional highs. Now what else did I like? Sun Visor was the GOAT, obviously. The music was good, although I don't know if this is credited to the anime or the game, since they share the OSTs between them. Special shoutouts to Hitomi Ueda, the voice actress for Gold Ship. Her delivery was excellent, but more so was the fact she improvised a lot of her lines and gave a lot more life to the character than someone else would have. I really can't see anyone else being able to create Gold Ship as she does. Here's my favorite part. I enjoyed the attention to detail with each race. The passion shown here is insurmountable. It's clear as day that this was made by lifetime horse racing fans. They really did pull out all the stops for something that not many people would notice or care about. I personally hope that I did a good job to help people appreciate just how much effort went into adapting these races. As I said, these are only my opinions, so don't be afraid to share yours in the comments below. I'd like to have an open discussion about it, but please keep it spoiler free, and only speak of the first 12 episodes. Now for the ranking. As this was the first season we covered, it defaults into first place. Nothing really exciting here. But with that, we come to a close. Please, like, favorite, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I ask you to share it around if you felt this was informative or fun. Whether it be on your friend's Facebook page or your Discord group chat. It really does help out in the long run. I plan to do a full coverage of all Uma Musume animated media. So please, look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you very much.